Hello and very warm welcome to StudyIQ. I am Prashant Mahwani. I hope you all are doing good, dear friends. Today we are going to talk about Bangladesh and political crisis that are going on in Bangladesh as at present. And one of the reasons why this particular topic is important for you, if you go through your syllabus, you find these items: current events of national and international importance. Apart from that, you find this role of external state and non-state actors. When we talk about external state, let me add some more, or let me throw some light on this thing. There is a political party in Bangladesh that does not consider India as its friend. So you can imagine that, say for example, if that political party is in power, or if it comes to power, then this is going to be a serious situation for our country, because you have this thing as well, India and its neighborhood relations. And of course, India would like to see a political party, particularly in its neighborhood, right? It would like to see a party that is inclined towards India. And this items are part of your pre as well as your mains syllabus. With this, you also find bilateral, regional, global groupings and agreements involving India and or affecting India's interest. Now, Bangladesh is part of SAARC. Bangladesh is part of this BIMSTEC group as well. And you know very well that for a very long period of time, India is trying to get a permanent membership of United Nations Security Council. For that, we need support of as many countries as possible. And imagine that if we have this scenario here, that a political party or a country that is our neighbor, but if it is not supporting us, then you can imagine that our overall weight will be reduced when it comes to United Nations Security Council's permanent membership. So it affects our soft power, and the outcomes of this political crisis that are going on in Bangladesh will have a direct as well as indirect impact on South Asian politics as well. So these are the items that indicates that this particular topic is important for you. But before moving on to this topic, very briefly, dear friends, our pen drive and tablet courses are available. You can know more about it by just logging on to, or by just visiting StudyIQ.com. So let's start with the history of Bangladesh. The map that you can see on your screen, ignore this bit here, right? You find this type of maps online, but let's not bother about it. Let's just focus on the items that are important for us in this particular topic. So here you have West Pakistan, and here you can see East Pakistan. This map is of before 1971, right? Pre-1971 era map. And this East Pakistan after 1971 became a new country that we call today, or that we know as Bangladesh today, right? And one more interesting fact about this country is that with Bangladesh we share the longest land boundary. Do you know that we share longest land boundary with Bangladesh? This can be a sort of optical illusion. It looks like we are sharing the longest boundary with Pakistan, but here you can see the area is small, but it is a sort of zigzag. So in this term, or in this way, it is the longest boundary with our country India. So moving on, dear friends, after 1971, or what happened actually in 1971, you know, there was a war between India and Pakistan, and of course India won this war, and the outcome of this war was this new country, inception of this new country, Bangladesh. And the main man in Bangladesh, the main person, the liberator, is Bangabandhu, the one you can see on your screen. This person here, his real name is Mujibur Rahman. He is famously called Bangabandhu, and he is a friend of India too, no doubt, because the role played by India for his country, Bangladesh. So for that reason, Bangabandhu has throughout his life he had a very soft corner for our country. And the current prime minister, the one you can see on your screen, is his daughter Sheikh Hasina, and at present she is prime minister, of course, and she is at present the main lady of this party. Awami League, right? AL, Awami League, is the party that was established by her father, Banga Bandhu. And one more thing that I would like to ask you here. This is a sort of interesting question for you guys. So do let me know if you know that who is the person who wrote or who composed this national anthem of Bangladesh. Very interesting fact here, right? And you can understand that earlier on we were one country. After our independence we became two. One was Pakistan, one was India, and later on after 1971 we have three countries here in our subcontinent. And it's very easy, it's a matter of common sense. I'm sure you know that we share a same culture, right? Generally speaking, our history is same as well. Particularly our history before 1947 is same. And the thing is, you find mention of Dhaka and people from Dhaka and this region of Bangladesh in our freedom struggle as well. So same people, you can say, but at present, after 1971, after 1947, and particularly after 1971, based on this political division, we are different in this term. Anyways, so things that are going on at present, or what took place after 1971 in Bangladesh, if you go through the overall history, the political history of Bangladesh, then you find that after 1971 there has been two parties. One is AL, that is Awami League, and the second one is Bangladesh National Party, BNP. Now the lady that you can see on your screen, she is the head of this BNP party, and her name is Begum Khaleda Zia, and she is in news for a very serious case, but we will talk about it as we move ahead. If you go through the figures or facts after 1971, then we find that either you find Awami League in power or you find this BNP in power. So predominantly two parties ruling this Bangladesh for a very long period of time. And particularly after 1991, alternatively, they have been in power. From last 10 years, of course, Awami League is in power, and in between we find military interventions as well taking place, military rule taking place in Bangladesh. And this is a common pattern that we find with most of, you can say, most of the countries who are developing countries, or you can say they are poor country, high population, high amount of population, colonial, ruled by colonial powers earlier on. And you find many times military as well playing a very important role in the political history of these types of countries, right? So predominantly either you have BNP or Awami League. I hope this thing is clear. So now let's move on to current affairs, the things or you can say recent happenings in Bangladesh. Now this former Prime Minister Begum Khaleda Zia has been sentenced to 5 years rigorous imprisonment in a corruption case. She was sentenced by a special Dhaka court, Supreme Court of Bangladesh, and it is alleged, or now in fact it is proved as per this verdict, that she was involved with this $0.25 million fraud, or the money that was coming in for charity. They never utilized it. So basically this is the gist of this case in a nutshell. And this, if you convert this money, then it is roughly around 2 crore taka. Taka is the currency of Bangladesh. It is a sort of GK thing that I would like to share with you. Many times you find this sort of general knowledge questions as well. 1 or 2 every year they ask you general knowledge, pure general knowledge questions. And what happens is that because I understand you are focused on conceptual clarity and other things, so we hardly find time for this sort of pure sheer general knowledge. So here is one thing for you, and on your screen you can also see that this let me zoom it up a little bit for you guys here. See here, you can see Banga Bandhu Mujibur Rahman on the this notes or currency of Bangladesh as well, isn't it? So this is how it is in Bangladesh, and she continues to hold this Madam Zia, or Begum Khaleda Zia. She holds the reins of this BNP party, and the verdict is definitely going to have a sort of negative impact on her party as well as on her image. And recent news, if we go by the recent news, the BNP lawyers, they have, or the BNP party said that they are going to appeal in the apex court regarding this verdict. So now we have to wait and watch whether the Supreme Court of Bangladesh, whether it is entertaining this plea of BNP or Khaleda Zia. We have to wait and watch for this thing. But one thing is for sure, that this case is going to go on for a bit longer, right? So we cannot say that she is completely finished. Of course, he has a very strong supporter base and things like that. Of course, we are going to talk about it as well as we move ahead. But the sad thing is, at present, you find clashes going on between BNP and AL in major cities of Bangladesh. So supporters are basically against each other. Supporters of AL and BNP are against each other. And moving on, the bad reputation of BNP. Now, BNP was in power from 2001 to 2006, and when they were in power, this Khaleda Zia's party, when it was in power, they were basically practicing open corruption. And if you go through this Transparency International, it is an NGO, and it is working in different countries around the world at different levels. And basically you can see from its logo as well, or from the name itself, or from this tagline, not the logo, tagline indicates the Global Coalition Against Corruption. So this Transparency International is an organization that comes out with this corruption, most corrupt, and it comes out with this index of corruption. And from 2001 to 2005, Transparency International, in their chart, Bangladesh was for 5 years in a row most corrupt country in the world, right? So this severely damaged the image of Bangladesh as a country, as well as BNP party's image was also not that good. Apart from that, India was not happy with this BNP rule, and now you might be aware about this thing, that when I said right in the beginning of this lecture that if a political party comes into power that is not inclined, or that is having a feeling of hostility with India, then India is not going to appreciate it, isn't it? India will try its level best to see a party or a government that is inclined, or that is looking after the interest of our country too. So during their tenure, in between this 2001 and 6, Bangladesh witnessed this Hindus, basically, right, minority communities in Bangladesh, particularly Hindus, were executed. You can say the government was not supporting, law and order was out of order, and Hindus were targeted, and India was very sad about the things that were going on in Bangladesh. So unprecedented violence against the country's minority community and political opposition. This is something that you find in the political life of Bangladesh. If you are in opposition, then you are going to face this wrath of a ruling party. And if you go through the figures, you find that two senior, right, they were senior leaders of AL Awami League, and they were killed, and a grenade attack on an AL public meeting took place, and it killed 24 people, it injured nearly 300 people, and notably the current Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina had a very narrow escape from this attack. And at present, the son of Miss Zia, he is in fact accused of this bomb blast, and he is accused of the latest verdict on this corruption. He is found guilty by the court. So this sort of things used to take place in Bangladesh, and after 2006, basically this military intervention or military backed caretaker government seized the power in January 2007. And then later on, elections were declared in December 2007. So all these things that were going on in Bangladesh, particularly between 2001 and 6, were anti-democratic, were bad for the reputation, right? And violence in democracy is a big no-no, particularly when the state government, right? If if your state government is not able to, say for example, manage, or if it is not able to control this sort of things, then we can understand that at least it is trying. It is not providing a sort of soft corner, or support to this sort of things going on in any country. But when openly your government is corrupt, when your government is supporting this violence against minority, and it is killing opposition leaders and things like that, then we can seriously say that we can understand that this is not a democracy at all, isn't it? So elections took place in Bangladesh in December 2008, and of course, because this sort of things, and it is also said that India, right, supported Awami League. There was a sort of Indian hand, but still, right, this sort of things are clandestine. You don't find it. They are more covert things going on, right? They are not overt. So we cannot talk about those sort of things here. Anyways, we will drop this topic here, but we will focus to the things that we have on board. So Awami League had a landslide victory, and since then we can see that BNP party, you can say downward slide or nosedive in terms of reputation and popularity of BNP started. AL succeeded in leveraging when it came into power. It did all those things that made it a dominant political force in Bangladesh, and AL started getting stronger and stronger, and since then it is in power. In 2018, right, we see that at present we are in 2018, and you can understand that since 2008 BNP is not in power. It is out of power from last 10 years. So naturally, because of this thing as well, it has got a bit weaker, and this verdict is going to create or bring some more troubles for BNP, no doubt. And BNP suffered the usual indignities and routine repression of opposition, which is common in Bangladesh. As I told you that this AL, now it is in power, so it tried all those tricks that it had in its book to suppress or to create problems for this BNP party, which is again not that democratic. I know that AL is a party that is inclined towards India, but when you see it through the prism of democracy, then this is not right again. But this sort of things went on, and later on, after 5 years, in 2013, another election was around the corner, and at that point of time, right before that, this Awami League that was in power, the government amended the constitution. Now this amendment that was done by the government was pertaining to this caretaker government provision. What used to happen, as I told you, that whenever there was any problem back in history in Bangladesh, then military used to step in or take over. So this was something that was not acceptable to the government, so it decided that military should do their own job rather than stepping into the political arena. So they amended this constitution, and this thing created, or you can say this became a big, you can say, a campaign issue for this BNP party, right? BNP started protesting against this thing, and street protests were started, and later on this BNP declared that they are not going to take part in election until and unless this provision is restored, and it made it a precondition as well for electoral participation. At that point of time, back in 2013, if we go through the opinion polls, then opinion polls were saying that BNP will win this 2018 election. And again, let me add one more thing, that AL, right, compared to, in terms of minority oppression, in terms of corruption, it is AL is, of course, they are not, you can say, they are not supporting this minority killings in Bangladesh, but they are, means AL party or the current government is also not that clean, right? There are many cases going on against Sheikh Hasina and other top leaders of Bangladesh. There are different, various cases going on, right? From corruption, from other criminal cases and things like that are going on. So none of this party are that clean, but still, if you compare it with BNP, then it is a bit better when you see it from Indian perspective. So this BNP, they never took part in this election. They basically boycotted this election, and in 2014 when elections were held, right, AL retained power. It had a massive victory, and subsequently it became strong, and this BNP, right, BNP party, as it never fielded its candidate, right, half of this parliamentary seats were uncontested, and voter turnout was also a record low. So democratic methods are, you can say, a bit out of order when we see 2014 election, and many senior BNP leaders have been arrested since then for long terms, and local leaders and cadres are either on run or have gone underground. So this sort of things are still prevalent in Bangladesh, and all these factors give rise to the perception that earlier on you used to have two parties, but now it is becoming more and more sort of dictatorship or one party rule in Bangladesh. So this again is a matter of serious concern. Now, if we go through this verdict on Khaleda Zia, then we find that, of course, BNP is saying that right before this verdict came out, a day earlier on, Zia said that during a press conference, he said that the government or this ruling party leaders, they have already said early on that they will make sure that C is thrown behind the bars, and this verdict is nothing more than an alliance between judiciary and government. This is what BNP party is saying. If you go through AL, then they are saying that eventually justice is delivered, and it was delayed, but of course it is not denied and things like that. But we have some impartial views as well. If we go through impartial views, then we find that political scientists, you find professors saying that even if this BNP party is applying for an appeal in Supreme Court, then nothing is going to, or no favorable outcome will be there for BNP party. They have also said this thing. There are other, you can say, go through the statement of professor of law of Dhaka University. Then they are saying that sending a former 3-time prime minister and the main opposition leader to jail for not using the money, pay attention here, not using the money in a trust fund named after her husband, naturally raises a lot of questions. This verdict could actually work in BNP's favor, as per Asif Nazrul. He says that this sort of things can work as a soft corner, right? People may feel sympathetic towards Khaleda Zia, and if you go back in the history of political history of the world, then you find many examples that when your leader or when a famous leader is jailed, and if your party, or if you are able to spread this propaganda that our leader is a soft target or is being targeted and things like that, then this may work for that particular leader that is behind the bar. So this is a thing. They may, it depends, right? We have to wait and watch again, because only future can tell what will happen here. So this is a thing that we have to keep in mind, that this soft corner thingy may work for Khaleda Zia. Now, future election is going to take place in 2019, and the term of this AL party, this government, is going to end in 2019, and before that they have to go for an election. So we can say that election is not far, right? 2018 is already on, and by the end of this year, we will see. And of course, you know that when you have national level elections just around the corner, so preparations normally start one and a half year ago, isn't it? So we will see a sort of hot political, you can say, debates and discussions and other things going on in the ground. Basically, you can say the preparations are on, and if C is kept behind the bars, then this is going to attract, you can say, international attention as well. The legitimacy of the current government will come into question, and India, of course, will not like sanctions being applied on Bangladesh. So India, of course, at present is keeping its eyes and ears open as far as this Bangladesh political crisis are concerned. AL would be securing the participation of weakened BNP, right, without Zia. So there can be a sort of, you can say, a compromise between AL and BNP, but of course Sheikh Hasina will make sure that she will tie up with only that BNP that does not have this Miss Zia in it, and this special leave thing as well. We have to wait whether she will be allowed this special leave if this prey of BNP is heard by or accepted by Supreme Court. Then she will be out from the jail. At present, their lawyers are trying, this BNP lawyers, they are trying their level best to get a bail for Khaleda Zia, who, as we are speaking, she is behind the bars. And let's wait and watch what comes out of this thing, because as you know, as we have discussed already, this thing, that it is very important for our country, right? So we would be closely following, monitoring things that are going on in Bangladesh. And the last thing that I would like to add here is that she is behind the bar, Zia is behind the bar, but it's not that we cannot say that she is completely out of business. Not at all. She is a very strong political figure. As you know that 3 times she has been Prime Minister of Bangladesh, and this is not the only country in our neighborhood that is going through this sort of turmoil. If you see the situation in Maldives, you know that emergency was applied in Maldives by the president. Nepal, they just formed a government in Nepal, right? Baby steps, you can say. Myanmar, Rohingya case is still not sorted out. We know the things in Pakistan, change of guard took place. Nawaz Sharif is out, new Prime Minister is in. Afghanistan as well, going through political turmoil. Elections are just around the corner. At present, this you can say local elections are going to take place in Sri Lanka as well, and you can see president and prime minister, right, they are against each other. So Sri Lanka as well. So in total, you can say this SARC group, or members, or some members of BIMSTEC, or you can say this South Asian politics, right, is in a bit of turmoil. And of course it has a direct as well as indirect impact on our country too. So that's everything. I believe this bird's eye view discussion on this particular topic has cleared many things regarding this Bangladesh, this country called Bangladesh, and other countries as well. Now you can relate things going on with each other, and you can observe this or monitor this thing from Indian perspective. With this, dear friends, I end this discussion. Again, I would like to remind all of you that our pen drive and tablet courses are available. Make sure you check out StudyIQ.com. Please don't forget to subscribe, hit the notification bell. If you have learned something today from this lecture, then please give us your like. It motivates me personally to bring more quality stuff for you guys, and pass your valuable comments. And don't forget to pass your answer for that question regarding Bangladesh's national anthem. I will see you all soon. Till then, enjoy your studies. Jai Hind.